Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. So meet Miss Esther Marie Moore, the newest addition to our family. So she was born June 13th, which was Tuesday. We are actually filming this. I'm filming this 2 weeks late, but things have been kind of hectic. We were going to film the whole birth story, but the hospital she was born at, San Antonio Military Medical Center, they do not allow videoing or cameras during the delivery. So we snuck a little video clip in while I was in labor. That's about it. So I'll just let you in on her birth story. So at 2:30 in the morning, on Tuesday, June 13th, I woke up feeling some contractions and wasn't sure if they were just strong Braxton Hicks or like the actual real thing. So I just got out of bed and came into the living room and didn't wake up my husband because I didn't want another episode of one time I woke him up and it was false alarm and he was really tired to go to work the next day. So I downloaded a contraction timer on my phone. Oh, getting a little fussy. And I came out to the living room and I started bouncing on this ball that I have, and I was timing my contractions, and I noticed they were getting pretty strong and they were getting closer together, and it was actually hard to make sure I was starting the timer on time. So after an hour of doing that, I finally went and I woke up my husband and told him that I was having contractions and I really needed him to start timing. And so he got up and he was timing them, and they quickly got to between 5 minutes apart. And so he's like, okay, let's pack our bags, let's start making our way over to CMC. And we got to CMC, which he like sped all the way there to get there, and we got to CMC probably around 5 o'clock in the morning, and they checked me and I was only a 3 and only like, I think they said 65 or 75% effaced. And because I wasn't 39 weeks yet, I was actually supposed to be induced that week on Friday at my 39 weeks. And it is their policy that they can't give me drugs or help the labor along unless I am showing signs of progression. So they said, because I was only 38 weeks and 4 days, they said that they were going to leave me alone for 2 hours in the triage room that they had for me, and when they come back after 2 hours, if I made progression, then they would admit me. And so I was like, okay. So we were there, and they gave me a little exercise ball to bounce on and move on, and we walked the halls, and I also got in the shower on the ball because the contractions, they were pretty intense. They weren't always 5 minutes apart. They were anywhere from like 4 minutes to 7 minutes apart. But they were pretty intense, and I was just praying that I had shown some kind of progression So, because I couldn't imagine going much longer without the epidural and having to go back home dealing with those contractions. So they came back in the 2 hours, and luckily they said that I had become like a 4.5, and I was then 95% effaced. So progression, and so they said that they would be back in an hour to move me to another room, and they had to get like paperwork in the room all set up and ready. But I was being admitted, so when after an hour I labored a little bit longer on the ball, and Joey was a very good sport helping me. I had brought tennis balls and a sock to for him to roll on my back to help, and hard to do this with a baby. So, when they finally admitted me and moved me to a regular labor and delivery room, I couldn't take the contractions much longer. They were really intense, really strong, and could not breathe through it. It was very hard for me to breathe, even though all the nurses that came in said I was handling labor like a champ and breathing really well. I was like, okay, ready for the epidural now. So it took a while longer. The anesthesiologist probably didn't get me the epidural until, I want to say, around 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 or 9. Yeah, probably 9 o'clock in the morning is when I finally got it, and boy did it help. At first they had it to where it was only working on my right side and felt very weird. So they had to kind of adjust it and move me around a little bit to where it was working more on both sides. But they said usually it's normal for when you get the epidural for one side to be more prominent than the other. And they had me labor with this, I guess they called it the peanut ball. They stuck that between my legs to kind of help open up my pelvis some more. And they checked me probably around 2 o'clock to see how far I'd come, and saw that I was just stuck at a 5. And so they were like, okay, let's just go ahead and break your water, because my water hadn't broken yet. And so they broke my water, and they had actually found some of the meconium in my water. So they were concerned a little bit that Essie might have swallowed some poop. So they said that it was just a little bit, and that so far her heart rate, everything was okay. That when she gets born, they'll just have to check her like a little bit more, make sure everything was okay with her. And so they broke my water, and then things really sped up after that. It was probably, probably an hour after they broke my water, 2 hours, where I was just like, I'm feeling a whole lot of pressure, like with having the epidural. So I got Joey to get the nurses back in, and they came in and they were like, oh, yep, you're a 10. But she's still kind of high up in there, so we're gonna have you labor down for a little bit. So they adjusted the bed to where it was sitting up real high. They said, yeah, we'll let you labor down for about an hour, hour and a half. And then hopefully you'll be ready to push. Oh, no. So, Joey, once they put me in that position, Joey went to go get something to eat so he can have some energy. And as soon as he came back, he is probably only gone for 20 minutes. I was telling him, I'm feeling a whole lot of pressure. I'm fighting back, pushing. My body wants to push. It was very weird because, you know, from the epidural, I'm numb, you know, from the waist, really from my rib cage down. And I basically, like, when you feel like you have to push, it kind of felt like you're holding back a poop. I don't even know how else to describe it. But, so I was like, I really get the nurses in here, and he's like, can I eat first? And I'm like, I'm really fighting, holding back, pushing. And so the nurses came in. It had only been 20 minutes of me laboring down, and they looked and they're like, yep, it's baby time. It's time to start pushing. So they get me into, lay me back, have my legs up in the stirrups, and Joey's on my right side, and one of our wonderful nurses was on my left that we had. And pushing was exhausting. So they have me push. The nurse counts to 10, and you're pretty much exhausted by the time she reaches 5, and you're like, I'm supposed to make it to 10. So, but I pushed for about 30 minutes, and Joey, who was all gung-ho about not looking at all and just looking at my head, the nurse actually talked him into looking, and he got to see her head coming out and saw that she had blonde hair, which we were convinced, because we both had dreams that she was a brunette with blue eyes. But no, she's blonde with blue eyes, like her mommy. And so after 30 minutes of pushing, she finally came out, and I actually, halfway during the pushing, they had to put me on oxygen because my levels, I guess, had dropped, and it was really hard to breathe. But they laid her on my chest a little bit, and then they immediately took her over to this incubator to check her out, because I guess her levels and heart rate had dropped, and they were also concerned because they had found meconium in my water. So they went over there, checked her out. Joey ended up cutting the cord, but she ended up being perfectly okay, because they said as long as she comes out, you know, screaming, you know, that's a good sign. And she did. She came out screaming. And so I laid there while they finished kind of stitching me up. I had very minimal tearing, and I was just kind of watching her the whole time, not really paying attention to what they were doing. And Joey was just kind of going back and forth between me and her, going, are you okay? And then going back to her and making sure she was okay. And so after everything was good, they had her do skin to skin for about an hour. And she was born at 6:33 p.m. Tuesday, June 13th, weighing 7 pounds, 15 ounces, and she was 21 inches long, is I believe what the nurse said. So, yeah. And once once me and Essie were all good, they moved us to the mother-baby unit for recovery. And so that was like late in the evening. It was like about 11 o'clock at night when they moved us to our room. And we were there in that room until Thursday afternoon when we got discharged. And we went to Panda Express to get some dinner. And we came home. So that is our birth story of Esther Marie. Labor wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I was very scared of labor from what I had heard, especially from my mother, who had a very rough labor with me and my brother. So I was very terrified, but it wasn't bad at all. The contractions they weren't pleasant, but they were manageable to a certain point. And I progressed what seemed like very quickly, and the nurses said I progressed very quickly considering it was my first time giving birth. So labor wasn't too bad at all, and especially, I could do it all over again. Because when they laid her on my chest and I actually got to see the face that had been kicking my rib cage for so long, it was all worth it. So, but this is Esther, and you will be seeing her in a lot more videos to come. And we're so happy that y'all can meet her. All right, bye.
All right, you want me to GoPro? This is my wife at 10 centimeters. Getting ready to push. How you feeling?
I feel great.
Any pain?
No.
What's it feel like?
Some pressure.
Some pressure. It is 17:31 right now. She started having contractions at about 2:30 this morning. That brought her out of bed.
Got here about 4:30, was it? And
Right about 5, yeah.
yeah, and they couldn't admit me yet because I was just a 3. So they waited 2 hours, and I stayed here, and I got in the shower and on the ball, and I moved to a 4 and a 5 pretty quickly within 2 to 3 hours. And then so they admitted me, and the contractions, they were bad, but not they were bearable. But then once, shortly after they admitted me, it got pretty intense. So asked for the epidural, and the epidural's been great. Joey had to even tell me how to when I was having a contraction, because I didn't know. I didn't really feel it. But yeah, our nurse thinks that by 7:30 we'll have a baby. I'm feeling the urge to push though, and it's hard to hold back. But yeah, it's been pretty easy going, and we're gonna meet our daughter. So I'm excited. What do you think, babe? You ready?
I'm not ready.
Why aren't you ready?
I can't do
You don't have a choice at this point.
Well, I'm gonna eat so I don't pass out. I'm afraid I'm gonna pass out.
Oh, and a big shout out to our friends Rachel and Adam for watching our fur babies and sending me Snapchats of them all happy. So yeah, thanks guys. We're doing that for us and watching them. And yeah, just very anxious and ready and excited, and So hopefully the pushing is not as scary, because the labor wasn't as scary as I thought it would be anyways. So I'm trying to get my husband to put on his dad-to-be loading shirt, because he can't wear it for much longer. Huh, babe?
I'll put it on.
So hopefully next time you'll see us, we'll have a baby. Look at me. Look at that sexy father to be.